بسم الله الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. اللهم لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وأرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه وأدخلنا برحمتك في عبادك الصالحين آمين يا رب العالمين. Welcome everybody to another session of Fiqh of Financial Transactions. Walillahi alhamd, we covered a good chunk of it. And again, we always, we should take a moment to thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The slide's not there? Allah, he'll turn on the PowerPoint, inshallah. We take always a moment to thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, طبعا for everything, but specifically that, He has given us the ability and the tawfiq to be here in the masjid, in one of the houses of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and to be here, not just to pray together, but also to sit together and discuss, the ayat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Sharia of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is from the greatest acts of worship. And sometimes we take this for granted. You could have been somewhere else, right? But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose you to be here out of all the other Muslims that are here in Calgary. Alhamdulillah for that. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless us in that. And, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, لَإِن شَكَرْتُمْ لَأَزِيدَنَّكُمْ, right? We want to increase in knowledge. So one of the ways to increase in knowledge is to be grateful for what you have. Because when you are grateful, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increases, right? And of course, we say the dua, وَقُلْ رَبِّي زِدْنِي عِلْمًا اللهم زدنا علما. طيب, Bismillah. So last week, طيب, what topic was covered last week? نعم. So بيع الأصول, primary assets, and something else. Things that grow on trees and thimar, fruits and crops and things like that. Tamam. So we discussed that, and we started talking about selling a house. When you buy a house, what are you supposed to get with it? We covered a rule. We said, what was the rule that we covered? Something that is attached. Yeah, something that is attached. As long as it's attached, tamam. So what's an example? So a door is already put up, the nails are in. Is that attached? Another door is on the floor, it's not attached. Is that part of it? No. Mumtaz, khalas. So generally anything that is attached, and other things like we go to urf, because he mentioned like the lock, it's not really attached, you can take it off, I guess. What about when you buy land? Right? What is included in it? If you buy a land, the trees are included in it. Ahsant, na'am. Trees, other buildings. But we said whatever is under, from that goes usually to the governments and stuff. But yeah, the trees. But what happens if there's apples on the trees? Who gets to take that? So generally, if they're growing already, okay, the seller gets to have that batch. Tamam? Ahsant, good. Yeah, unless there's an agreement. Ahsant, mashallah. Okay, this is you guys and you haven't studied. Imagine if you studied, you'd be teaching here next year, mashallah. طيب, Allahumma barak. So can you sell fruits on a tree? If you can raise hands so we know. Yeah, can you? Okay, so if there's budu salahiha, okay, if it shows that it's grown, you can, like it's almost ready to be eaten, tamam. And then in the end, we talked about what are the signs, right? Like for the dates to become red, right, or to become like strong yellow, tamam. Yeah, so you can sell those. We also said that if some of it has grown, we can assume that the rest will grow from the same category. But if apples are growing in that same bustan, same garden, if the apples are growing, we can't say that the pomegranates are also going to grow. We can say that the rest of the apples will probably grow and we can sell those. Are you allowed to sell something that is not, it doesn't look like it's ready to be eaten? Is there any condition we mentioned last week?
It's only to the owner.
Okay, to the owner. And then we mentioned something else. If there's a manfa'a for it, we said if there's a benefit for it, but it has to be cut on the spot. Sahih? Yeah. Ahsantum. Very good. MashaAllah. And this was like one of our most like difficult and I don't want to say boring, but drier topics. Who's responsible for the fruits on a tree that have been sold if a storm destroys them? Yeah, we talked about this. We said somebody comes and he's like, I want these, I'm going to buy whatever grows on this tree. Okay. And then, he comes back to get them and, there was a storm and they're all gone. Who's responsible according to the madhab?
The owner.
Yeah, the seller. The seller is responsible for that. And we said that, I believe Imam Abu Hanifa and Shafi'i rahimahumullah, they disagreed about this one. And you can see both arguments. But the Hanabila said that the one, the seller is the one who's responsible because they are in his possession. طيب. Ahsant, yeah. Unless the buyer was supposed to come on Monday and he decided to come 1 week after. Okay? So whose fault was that? It's his fault. Ahsant. Good. Very good, mashallah. Even the exceptions you guys remember. ممتاز. طيب. اليوم نتحدث إن شاء الله. We will talk about بيع السلم and القروض. So let's start with بيع السلم. بيع السلم. What is بيع السلم? Anybody heard that before? Salam? Not salam. Okay, so give me an example. Okay. Yeah, so here we put the money, we pay the money, okay, and then we get the commodity after. Yeah, ahsantum. So, exactly, pretty much. But Amazon is a bit different because you will see that part of the shurut of a salam is that it's not something that's already there. Because in Amazon, it's already in the warehouse, صح? I think so, pretty much. It's already in the warehouse. Yeah, it's in the warehouse. Because these are sellers that have items in the warehouse. Okay? The other one that you might be talking about is drop shipping. Maybe drop shipping, sometimes it's not even manufactured, I think. I don't know. You guys can correct now. Yeah, Alibaba, yeah. Well, yeah, okay. Naam. Yeah, you pay for it and then you get your 500 units later, etc. Okay, Jamil. So that's basically a salam. So, Bismillah, al-Naqra, inshallah, let's read. طيب, Bismillah. فصل يقول المؤلف رحمه الله في السلم. Okay, so the definition of a salam here, he says عقد على موصوف. Is it up? Okay, Jamil. So, this is when you pay the money up front and then you have the item delivered later. So he says here, the definition, I'm taking this from the footnotes, عقد على موصوف في الذمة مؤجل بثمن مقبوض بمجلس العقد. So it's a contract on a described item, a commodity owed as a liability. So he says here, عقد, it's a contract على موصوف, something that is described. Okay? We said, I'm going to put money, okay, so that I get something in the future, okay? I'm giving the money for the manufacturer, okay, or the seller, and he's going to give me this item later. So, عقد على موصوف, but it has to be described. So this definition, I put it here because it's very technical. It's a contract on a described item. It has to be موصوف. Do you guys remember when we talk about shurut al-bay'? We mentioned salaf. We mentioned salam. It's called salaf in some books of fiqh. Salam, salaf, similar. We mentioned that one of the shurut, one of the conditions for the sale to be acceptable is that it has to be able to be described, a description of salam, if you remember that. And I told you we're going to study salam later. This is what it's talking about. So it has to be something describable. What would have to be describable? Yeah, something that is described. Why? Yeah, gharar, a huge speculation. If I tell you I'm gonna give you $1,000 so that you give me a car in a month, طيب you can give me like some old car, a truck, مش عارف إيش, a bus. I don't know, bus will count, but like it could be so much speculation. تمام. So it has to be something موصوف. So عقد على موصوف في الذمة. Whenever you hear الذمة في الذمة, think of something that comes in the future. Okay, something that's in my dhimma, يعني it's a liability for me. It's on my neck, يعني something I have to bring you in the future. يعني it's a dain basically. في الذمة يعني dain. So عقد على موصوف في الذمة مؤجل. It has to be مؤجل. Otherwise it's a normal trade, right? Because one of them has to be مؤجل. Okay, so it has to be مؤجل يعني مؤخر, يعني it has to be delayed. Okay, to be delivered at a future date. مؤجل يعني to be delivered at a future date. Okay, بثمن مقبوض, in exchange for a price paid in full at the time of the contract. بثمن مقبوض بمجلس العقد. تمام. So the money has to be paid when you do the contract, and then the item is delivered later. واضح؟ طيب, what if the item is delivered on the spot? Then it's not salam, it's just a regular transaction. صحيح؟ طيب. طبعا when we talk about sales, we mentioned this in the beginning of buyu, but let's go over it again. You can think of sales in 4 ways, right? The first one, right? Money and an item are exchanged. Money and a commodity, okay? $100 for, a bag of, I don't know, or some gold, right? Some money for some gold. Tamam. Or you can have money is delayed, but the item is exchanged immediately. What's this? Yani, this is when you buy in installments. Money is delayed. Okay, you get the car and you're paying in installments. Okay, so now you're getting the commodity on the spot and then you're paying the money later in installments. That's one way. Salam is the opposite, right? Salam is going to be the opposite. Okay, and then you have the money is exchanged immediately. You put the money, but the item is delivered later. This is what salam is. Tamam? This is the third way. And then you have both the money and the item are delayed. This is where you say, I'll give you the money in a few months, and then he'll be like, I'll give you the car in a few months. Is this allowed?
Yes.
Who said no? Said no? Why is it not allowed?
There's nothing to buy.
This is Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, actually there's a hadith واضح. He prohibited بيع الكالئ بالكالئ. كالئ بالكالئ is debt with debt. Because this is basically في الذمة في الذمة. You're not allowed to have two things في الذمة. One thing has to be put on the spot. Otherwise the Sharia will tell you, wait until one of you has something. There is no need to put both of you on a liability where none of you have something to put. It makes sense, right? Either somebody's putting money and the commodity is delayed, okay, or somebody is putting the commodity and the money is delayed. Is that واضح? This would not be allowed to do dain with dain. Trading dain with dain is not allowed in Sharia. طيب, Jamil. It's good to kind of have an understanding of the kinds of buyu'. So he starts here, he says, فَصٌ فِي السَّلَمِ وَيَصِحُّ السَّلَمُ يَصِحُّ. This is the hukum. So it's jaiz, okay, it's permissible. وَيَصِحُّ السَّلَمُ بِسَبْعَةِ شُرُوط. He says that as-salam is acceptable, okay, and sahih with 7 conditions, 7 shurut, and we need to know these shurut. So he says here, طبعا it's important to also mention the hadith. This is the main hadith of this chapter. If you go to any books of fiqh or books of hadith that discuss this, they say that they mention this hadith. قدم النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم المدينة. That النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم, when he entered Medina, قدم النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم المدينة وهم يسلفون في التمر. They were doing salaf. يسلفون is the same as salam. Okay, we said salaf, salam, similar. وهم يسلفون في التمر السنتين والثلاث. They were actually doing it for 2 years and 3 years. Yeah, they would pay for the dates and they would get them 2 years after and even 3 years after. يسلفون في التمر السنتين والثلاث. فقال صلى الله عليه وسلم, so he said صلى الله عليه وسلم, من أسلف في تمر فليسلف في كيل معلوم ووزن معلوم إلى أجل معلوم. So the Prophet says, whoever's going to do salaf or salam, okay, يعني pay money and then get the commodity later. Okay. فَلْيُسْلِفْ فِي كَيْلٍ مَعْلُومٍ. Then let him do it in a known measurement or volume. فَلْيُسْلِفْ فِي كَيْلٍ مَعْلُومٍ وَوَزْنٍ مَعْلُومٍ. If it's something weighed, has to be وزن معلوم, a known weight. إِلَى أَجَلٍ مَعْلُومٍ. With a date. Date of what? Of getting the commodity, right? Of qabd. Right? This removes most of the speculation, most of the gharar. Tamam? فالنبي صلى الله عليه وسلم, actually this was something that the people were doing before kind of Sharia came in. And you'll notice this, the Sharia, when it comes in and it sees something that works and it's fine and there's no dhulm, okay, either it will say, okay, you're okay to do it, or it will come and put some conditions to make sure that, you know, it's perfected or it's made better. So that's exactly what the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam says. Keep doing what you're doing, it's fine, but make sure that you talk about the measurement of it, okay, and you talk about when are you going to do the qabd, okay, because I can't, it's not right for me to say, here's $2,000 and you give me chairs anytime in the future, you know, 1,000 chairs anytime in the future. What do you mean anytime in the future? That means that I'll never get it, and that would be valid, right? Because it says anytime in the future. It has to have a specific appointed time. That's the hadith of this chapter. طيب, so conditions. He says, the first condition, أن يكون فيما يمكن ضبط صفاته. It has to be in something that is describable. كمكيل, okay, like something that is volume, weight in volume. ونحوه, like, you know, weight, etc. ونحوه. So it's valid with 7 conditions. If any one of them is missing, then the sale will not be permitted. So we have to have all these conditions. So the first one, it is something that can be described with precision, okay? وذكر, he says, وذكر جنس ونوع وكل وصف يختلف به الثمن غالبا وحداثة وقدم. So the next condition, he says, you have to be able, it must contain these details, which is the jins, the category, okay? And وَنَوْعٍ, وَنَوْعٍ, so the jins and the naw', so the category and the type. وَكُلِّ وَصْفٍ يَخْتَلِفُ بِهِ الثَّمَنُ غَالِبًا. Any description that will change the price. كيف يعني? What does that mean? Well, if you say, okay, I'm paying you for a car, okay, a car. What are some descriptions that would change the price? What did you say? Mileage, of course. So you'd have to mention the mileage. What else?
The make.
Yeah, the make, the model. Is it rebuilt? Is it, you know, all these things have to be mentioned. Sahih? These things are important. So you have to mention all these details that would change the price. And وحداثة وقدم. Is it new? Is it old? Right? Is it used? Is it unused? تمام? And that's why, like, you know, when if you don't mention these things, then there's always going to be what? There's going to be khilaf and fights and etc. And then it says, وَذِكْرُ قَدْرِهِ وَذِكْرُ قَدْرِهِ. Yeah, it's amount, right? It's amount. يعني, like 1 car, 2 cars, 3 cars, 100 apples, 50 apples, 2 chairs, 5 chairs, right? وَذِكْرُ قَدْرِهِ وَلَا يَصِحُّ فِي مَكِيلٍ وَزْنًا وَعَكْسُهُ. This is interesting, something that's mentioned here. وَلَا يَصِحُّ فِي مَكِيلٍ وَزْنًا وَعَكْسُهُ. If you remember when we talked in the chapter of Riba, we said we can't do something that is makil with mawzoon. Do you remember we talked about that? We can't be trading something that is in volume with something that is in what? In weight. Like, right? Why? They said because we're not going to be able to get the exact amounts. We're not going to be able to know the exact amounts, and there's probably going to be some dhulm and some riba, right? But here, it's interesting. He says, you're not allowed to, you know, for example, let's say we said that dates is makil, something makil. In the madhab, dates is something sold in volume, okay? So you cannot pay money for dates to get kilos, right? طبعا يعني the Sheikh Ahmed al-Quaymi, the commentator, حفظه الله, he mentioned that this is one of the opinion in the madhab, and the other opinion that it's okay. And it makes sense that it's okay. Why? Because it doesn't really matter, right? Because you're paying money here, you're paying money for an amount, and if both of you agree on that amount, there's no dhulm happening. That one, because there could be chance of riba. Here, there's no problem. Well, Aslan, we talked about that a lot of the makilat, okay, that were considered makilat, exchanged with volume, now they're exchanged with what? with weight. تمام. For as long as it's something that is described with those other conditions, right, then it should be fine. ولا يصح في مكيل وزنا وعكسه, and the opposite, right? So this is just a footnote, يعني, that the other opinion in the madhab is that it is okay. And then he says, yeah, there must be a mention of appointed time. The next one is وذكر أجل معلوم. Yeah, and that's what they mentioned in the hadith. إلى أجل معلوم. You have to mention when I'm going to be picking this up, right? Yani when you go pay for a car, right, and it's not in the store yet, and they tell you, do they give you a date when it's going to be delivered? Most likely, right? They're not going to tell you, oh, we don't know, we'll let you know. Yeah, and a time window would be okay. مثلا we'll give it to you مثلا in the last week of October or something like that. It doesn't have to be a specific date. Yeah, as long as it's an ajal ma'loom, okay. It's not something that is غامض, يعني it is unknown. Yeah, ذكر أجل معلوم كشهر. He gives an example, like a month. Yeah, like I'll give it to you in a month. It doesn't have to be exactly, November 1st or something like that. He says وأن يوجد غالبا في محله. This is an interesting condition. The item should be a type that can be found most of the time in the season in which it will be delivered. وأن يوجد غالبا means what? Most of the time, often, right? وأن يوجد غالبا في محله. إيش يعني محله؟ وقت حلوله وتسليمه. يعني he's saying that it has to be something that usually, so obviously cars, there's no season for cars, I don't know, I guess not. But if it's something like out of season, okay, like, in those days they would eat things in season, right? So you cannot tell someone, I'm going to give you, this many kilos of pomegranate, for example, in the time where it's not even season. That's what he's talking about. So it has to be in a time that usually it will be available. Okay, don't promise to give someone something in a time that it's not harvested asla. It's not available there. So it has to be something that usually is available in that time. So you can't sell someone an iPhone. What's the last one now? 17. You can't sell someone like an iPhone 19, right? Because it's not out yet. You can't do that. تمام. طيب. So it has to be يوجد غالبا في محله. Yeah, the item should be a type that can be found most of the time in the season. And then he says فإن تعذر أو بعضه صبر. Okay. Yeah, he says فإن تعذر, like if it's not available, okay, or some of it is not available, صبر. He's patient with it. أو أخذ رأس ماله. Okay. Like let's say because we said غالبا. What يعني usually it's found at. What if مثلا you paid for some farmer in Vancouver, right, for peaches or something, I don't know, something like that, and all of a sudden he says, oh, this season nothing came out, there was no rain, blah blah blah. Okay, so he says you can either be patient and wait a bit, okay, أو أخذ رأس ماله, or you take back your money, you take back your capital. وقبض الثمن قبل التفرق. This is another condition, that the seller must take possession of the money before separation. Yeah, so the seller has to take the money. The money has to be put on the spot. You can't leave until you give the money. If you don't give the money, then what is it? It's dain with dain, right? Then it's something that is haram. Now,
So, for me, when I bought my car, I went to the dealership. We did agreement that I will buy a car, this model this year, with this price, but the car is not existing and the money is not paid. I paid only like down payment, like $1,000 for serious like drop, right?
okay.
Is this haram?
But with the knowledge that you have right now, what do you think?
Looks like haram.
Yeah, so that would be dain with dain, right? Because you only paid partial of your car. So al-asal is that you paid the car on the spot, all of it. This is the default, okay? I'm not sure if there's a special condition, but here you're saying that, this person, let's say this person, okay, he made a contract to get a car in the future, and he only paid a down payment. Tamam? Yeah, so here you're doing what? يعني the commodity is في الذمة, the future, and most of the money okay, is also في الذمة. So part of that transaction is دين with دين. But does it make a difference if you put a part of it? تفضل.
I think they call it non-refundable security deposit. They don't call it as a down payment. That security deposit.
Yeah.
But
adjusted.
And it's refundable.
Yeah, or non-refundable depending on where you.
Yeah.
so it's not part of the car payment?
They call it deposit or something.
They call it security deposit.
Yeah.
Is that subtracted from the cost of the car?
So the amount would be adjusted toward when I'm making the final payment. So $20,000 vehicle, I get $1,000 now, and when the possession of I'm getting the delivery, then I'll pay $19,000 more. So they call it security deposit.
Yeah, go ahead.
But it's not a payment of the car because you could later on decide that you don't want to actually go through with the purchase.
Yeah, it's almost like you're holding the car, right?
They deduct
You're
it
paying
from
for
the
the
price.
price actually.
نعم what was
They deduct the deposit later from the car price.
That's a discount they're adding later on. So
والله it's a good question.
I can walk away saying I don't need the car, and then I get the money back.
Oh, you can do
You
that.
can get the money back if you not the car. Most of them they will give you the money back.
والله I'm not sure. That's a
But
good question.
I think these are big dealership. They are serious. Like there is no doubt. They will get the car. They will give you a time when they will get the car for sure.
No, I'm not doubting that. I'm just thinking if this would apply there. This is it's a good يعني, application for that. I'm not sure wallahi right now. I have some doubt about the answer. In my head, I'm leaning towards it is a type of يعني بيع الكالئ بالكالئ, بس I have to just make sure inshallah.
The same example is in a new house being built, it's very similar. Like you put a deposit in, you don't make a payment until they build the property or the house for you.
This is when you build a house.
When you custom or you're booking a new.
I think this will go into the chapter of al-istisna, and this is something that the Abu Hanifa rahimahullah and the Hanafi madhab have allowed, and the other madhab are iffy about it, about these kind of.
But even for house, for existing house, when I bought my house, I was on a lease for apartment. So I bought the house with a possession date 3 months after, and they asked me for $20,000 to like a security or seriously. So I give them the
This is like the urbun, yani? This is like a deposit that's non-refundable.
like to show that I'm serious buyer. And then the contract went after. And then I got the position. The house was there, it was existing, but the process itself was delayed about 3 months.
And it's the same thing, by the way, for any business when you do project and stuff like this, you usually don't get paid upfront. So you get paid portion, and then once you deliver, you get the rest. So I don't know.
Yeah, most of the business.
When they pay for items. قصدك.
Any projects, like you are building house or designing something or giving services, usually it's you get percentage at the beginning, and then as you progress in the milestone each
And
time.
sometimes you don't even get it. You start working and then you get it.
Yeah, exactly.
Hmm.
I don't know if that's.
It has to be so for services it's different. Like for a service it's different. For a manfa or a service it's different. Here we're talking about a ayn, like an actual commodity. Okay, this is where salam comes in. Is that you're paying for a commodity in the future that does not exist. You're paying for a commodity in the future. You're not paying for a house that is already built. That's just a regular sale. But this is talking about something that doesn't actually exist yet, and they're gonna bring and make it and give it to you in the future. Can you give payments?
Sometimes they take payment.
No, I understand. Inshallah, I will look just to be 100%. I don't want to say something wrong, and then we'll look at it. Jazakallah khair. That's a great question, inshallah. طيب. And then he says here, وأن يسلم في الذمة. Yeah, وأن يسلم في الذمة. He gives it has to be given later. Okay, the item has to be given later because that's the whole point of a salam. Otherwise, it's not a salam. It's a regular transaction, right? تمام. فلا يصح في عين. And then he says here that it's not allowed in a ayn. Okay, ولا عين meaning something that is specific. That's يعني something that you can see right now. طبعا the word عين in the Arabic language has like a million meanings, right? عين عين is an eye. عين is like a spring, صح? عين is a spy. What else? Huh?
And the ayn
Is that something specific? Huh? Yeah, okay, something specific. They say عين الشيء, like something part of the thing. What else? I think there's like at least 7 or 8 meanings. عين. What else? عين? What's عين? Oh, عين is like an evil eye, right? You say, oh, he gave me a عين, right? You guys, just, yeah? If someone says, he gave me عين, يعني, he gave me an evil eye.
ayn means the whole body. Like al-ayn bil-ayn.
Well, العين بالعين here, it actually means يعني العين بالعين in the ayah means eye for an eye, but the مثل eye for an eye, it means tit for يعني yeah. Because it became like a kinaya for ahsantum. This is a language lesson. طيب. So he says here فلا يصح في عين ولا ثمرة شجرة معينة. Yeah, he says, and even in fruits of a specific tree. Why? Because it's already there, aslan. That's not salam, right? You're just buying something that's already there. So he's just making that very clear. طيب, let's go through the conditions. So I've listed them here, but there's some details for them. So the first one, Bismillah. So it is something that can be described with precision. So they say it has to be something that is measured, something that is weighed, right? The quantity, right? If it is a type of item that cannot be described with precision, that cannot be sold via delayed delivery, and via through salam, okay? Like he gives the example, jewels and gemstones that cannot be described. If you tell me I'm gonna sell you a diamond, or I'll pay you for this diamond. This guy has I don't know, some place where he finds diamonds, and he's like, here, pay me for it, but he just can't describe it. Is it like a 20 karat, مش عارف, size, weight? He can't. So that would not be acceptable, right? In the past, when things were manufactured, they would mix different things together without precision, so that would be difficult to measure precisely what was in it. However, today, they generally manufacture with precision. Yeah, nowadays it's pretty accurate. And aslan, nowadays you have pictures, right? They can show you exactly what it would look like. طيب. Not always, but people who hand make things, they can give you an idea what it's like. So you can like describe something, right? And they can give you an idea what it looks like. Halal with AI and all these different apps, you can pretty much see it in front of you, whatever you want, and you don't have to use your imagination, or someone has to draw it for you, right? Tamam. So that's the first condition. It has to be described with precision. Okay. Number 2, it must contain the following details in the description. So we talk about category, and right, it has to be you have to mention anything that might change its price. Anything. You think of anything when you're describing it that might change its price, you have to mention it. Okay, I'll sell you a bag that's this size, that's from this brand. Okay, but there's some more, right? What else? You have to tell me, like, is it leather? Is it like this? Anything that you need to describe that might change the price. واضح? What are some things that might not change the price? Like maybe if we think about it that way, let's say let's pick something. Pick something, Adi. Huh? Color? Color won't make a difference? In price? Well, usually people will ask for color. Okay, but I guess it won't make a. Cars are all the same price, right? Is the red one more expensive or huh? Yeah. Okay. So there are things that don't make it. Can't really think of it too much right now. But like, does he have to tell you if the plastic's from Taiwan or it's from like, I don't know, like from Singapore? Huh? do you ask about that? Like when you buy your phone from iPhone, or when you pre-order your phone from iPhone, when you order your Toyota, do you ask the plastic if the plastic has to? No, خلاص انت it's معروف. So you get the point. Anything that it's not going to change the price. So the things that have to be mentioned is the category, right? So example, is it a date or barley? Yeah. Type, is it Saudi barley or Emirati barley, right? Is it Saudi dates, or is it Ajwa dates, or is it Sukkari dates? Tamam? So it makes a difference, right? Like when you buy car parts, in Eastern countries at least, you have to know, is this Japanese or is this from Taiwan? Which one is better usually? The Japanese ones usually have better quality. What if he tells you it's from China? Right? You usually expect a cheaper price, right? So he has to tell you where it's from as well. So that would be something that would change the price, any type of description, which may cause its price to differ, right? Dates from Medina versus dates from Syria. Makes a difference. Dates from Medina, tamam. Whether it is fresh, new or old, yeah. I need to know, is this going to be a new thing or used, right? Etc. Jamil. Because what if you order a car and then you go pick up your car, your Toyota, and then you're like, oh my God, there's 5 kilometers on it. Okay? Who cares, it's 5 kilometers? But it's 5 kilometers, it's been used. That was not part of our, tamam. طيب. And then number 3, it is appropriate, its appropriate amount must be mentioned. Yeah, the amount, quantity, weight, measurement, right? It is not valid to sell something that is sold in measurement to be sold. We mentioned this, right? You said there's a khilaf in the madhab, right? And we said it should be fine. It should be fine to order something that is usually weighed or usually measured in volume, in weight. It should be fine as long as you both agree, right? To do that. طيب. Number 4, the condition we said there must be a mention of appointed time. مثلا 30 days. Okay? مثلا 1 month. مثلا the second quarter of the year. Something that is clear. So there is no gharar. There's no ambiguity there. Number 5, the item should be a type that can be found most of the time in the season. Yeah. So it has to be something that is usually found, meaning seller should be able to have access to it. Otherwise, how will he deliver it? It makes sense, okay? Even access, imagine, because even like drop shipping, for example, let's put aside the point that, selling what's not yours, but let's say, you guys know what drop shipping is, right? It's a famous, a very popular way of people. Well, can anyone explain to us what drop shipping is? Anybody that does drop shipping here? Drop shipping basically, according to my understanding, is basically when you sell something that you don't actually possess right now. So you open a store, okay, and you advertise, the book Akhsar al-Mukhtasarat, okay, and it's there for, $50, but it's not actually in your store. It's like with, in Abdullah's store, but I already told Abdullah that if somebody orders from me, I'm going to get it from you because Abdullah has 500 laying around for some reason, okay? This is what dropshipping is, the idea, basically. Tamam? Let's say that I have no way to get it from Abdullah. So this is what he's talking about. You have to be able to access and deliver on that day. Okay? So when you order something online, if they tell you we'll deliver to you in 30 days, but they can't actually have, there's no delivery, مثلا Canada Post or everybody's on strike, UPS, FedEx, everybody's on strike, then it wouldn't be an accepted salam. Does that make sense? So you have to be able to deliver it in that time, okay? Yeah, so here he says there's an exception for the fruits. Remember we talked about fruits out of season? Here because you can get fruits anytime, any season. They freeze them, the summer is winter there, winter is summer here, so you can deliver it, etc. Shipping. The condition can be extended to any type of item that may be difficult to deliver at the appointed time or place for whatever reason. Okay, if the seller is unable to deliver it at all or part of it, the buyer can either be patient, we said, sabara, okay, and wait for the rest to be delivered, or he can request a full refund. Yani, what does that mean? Yani, I paid you $1,000 to bring me this many chairs, 100 chairs, okay, in 1 month. In 1 month, you bring me 50 chairs. I'm still missing how many? Another 50. So I can either be patient for the other 50. You tell me, listen, man, one of our ships, it got shot down, or the wood got all burnt down in China. مش عارف إيش. Can you wait 2 months? Okay. You have the choice of waiting, or you have the choice of saying, you know what, give me my money back. You keep those chairs. Tough luck.
On Alibaba, we requested some computers for our company. The transaction is in a way, I should have delivered it, received it mid-September, but we didn't receive it mid-September. So it gave us an option to request compensation for the delay. and we took it. We applied for it. We didn't receive anything yet. Is that acceptable?
So he's saying here that we ordered something from Alibaba, and we were supposed to receive it in September, and it was delayed, and they offered us compensation
Compensation for delay.
for delay.
We will receive the product.
Jamil, so what kind of transaction would that be? Compensation
Discount, yeah.
for delay. It's huh?
That's because you are supposed to have the commodity, use it, so you are losing some benefit.
No, I understand. I'm just trying to figure out which category of a transaction would this be. This is a
It's a salam because he paid the money already.
yeah, it is salam, and he's going to receive it. It says here he's getting extra money for it, so he's paying you extra money so that you he's paying you for your sabr, yani.
So
For your business and for your sabr.
if I wait, he will give me some money and I will receive the product.
Like a discount.
It is almost like a discount, right?
I will
I'm trying to see if there's anything that would make it impermissible. I can't think of anything that would make it impermissible. Can anybody think of something? Tfadal. You're delaying a debt. No, there's no loan here.
So basically, he owed that thing at that time, but the seller is saying, "I can't give it to you. Can I give you some money so that I'll pay you later?"
Can I give you a discount? He's saying basically. He's basically saying I'm gonna give you a discount, sah? Because I gave you 2,000, okay, and you're supposed to deliver it next week, and because it's gonna be delayed, you're gonna be like, well, are you okay waiting? And I'll remove $200. That's basically what he's saying, sah. That's pretty much what you're saying.
So, Sheikh, the way that I do it is I had the same experience with Temu. So I bought some shoes, and what they said is they're going to give you a date. If they're going to say if the product came after this date, we're going to give you $5 credit. It's like
Yeah, I remember even in some restaurants, they'll tell you if the pizza's not done in 10 minutes,
yes,
you get to take it for free.
kind of, and it's up to you.
The only thing I would ask is, was this part of the contract? Like, was this in the terms and conditions? That big booklet that you never read? Huh?
It's offered. That offer. And you have
Yeah, if it's part of the shurut, I can't see why it's not why it's a problem. I can't. I'm gonna just make sure. But as of now, I don't see any problem. Okay, especially if it's in the condition in the contract. And if you don't deliver by this time, I will give you a lesser price. I don't see anything that would make it impermissible. But I'm gonna check, inshallah, and to give you yani the full.
Also be losing. You can be paying extra money for the buyer.
Because even in some in many things here, you pay extra for to be expedited, right? It's sort of, but that one is pre-agreed already. That's like a pre-agreed something, okay? And you pay extra to get it there faster.
Sometimes some product, if you delay, you're gonna be losing money, and the buyer need to pay money. They can go bankruptcy just because of delivery.
If you, this is in what kind of
If you develop a product or something like this,
Supply chain is the whole supply chain breaks. The concept is the whole supply chain breaks because if I'm ordering parts and I'm manufacturing a part. This auto industry is a very good example of that.
yeah, you're late in your order. Is that what you're talking about? And there's penalties.
there's penalty because the other business is gonna be losing.
Yeah, penalties. Penalties on this. We have to differentiate between penalties on these kind of things, which is basically a delivery, right? And penalties on a debt. Penalties on a debt, ma'ruf, that would be riba, right? And common example would be something like your ticket or something. I don't know. You'll have to pay a ticket, and you forgot to pay it, and then they increase it. That would be a type of increase on a debt. On a debt, yeah, and that would be, but something that is delayed, like for delivery, like a salam kind of thing, a penalty on that if it's pre-agreed. I'm trying to think if something would make it impermissible, if something that's pre-agreed to have a fee for delay. I can't see why it would be impermissible. Fadl.
Wouldn't it also be about you don't know the final price? it comes later, then you pay less. If it comes early, you pay this much.
So when we talk about gharar, the Sharia does allow a bit of gharar in specific conditions. So, مثلا salam has gharar. Let's agree. So there is gharar in salam, but the Sharia comes. There's no specific percentage. Okay, مثلا 5% or whatever. But the Sharia, the goal is to minimize gharar as much as possible. Okay. There's a difference between مثلا flip a coin. If you get heads, I'll give you a car. If not, there's a big difference between that and مثلا something like this. Something unnatural happens, or something, I don't know, there's some delay and you don't have control of it. And if it's not put in place, what's going to happen? Then people will be late, there'll be delays, it's going to affect the whole economy, right? So in cases like these, and obviously there is a haja for it. I don't see why it would be, but inshallah, that's another. MashaAllah, you guys have really good questions, inshallah. We will, inshallah, I will take a look at it, inshallah, and give you an answer, bi'idhnillah ta'ala. طيب, we were talking about, the item should be type that can be found most of the time. Yeah, so we were talking about, whether you are patient or you can request a full refund. That's something that you would be in part of your contract, right? That you can request a full refund.
Either full refund or compensation for it.
Jamil. Yeah. Makes sense. طيب, let's go to condition number 6, which is the seller must take possession of the money before separation. Yes, so the money has to be paid before separation for something that is salam. If he does not, then this will be selling debt for debt, which is prohibited. And there was the question, what if you partially pay it? Inshallah, we will discuss that inshallah in the next week, inshallah. Number 7, the last condition, the seller delivers the item as an obligation, and he delivers it in the future for dhimma, meaning the item must not be present in the store. If it's in the store, it's just a normal transaction, right? In that case, it cannot be sold via such a contract. It is also not valid to sell fruit from a specific tree. Yeah, he mentioned here, وَلَا ثَمَرَاتِ شَجَرَةٍ مُعَيَّنَةٍ. What's he talking about? He's saying like, if it's something that already exists, it's not salam. Example, a buyer says he wants to purchase fruit from a specific tree once it grows and that it be delivered to his house. No, it cannot be that kind of specific, right? It has to be general. This is in order to avoid dispute, because there's not a guarantee that. Here what he's talking about is, this is another point that's important. You cannot make it too specific. Okay, does that make sense? You cannot tell him that it has to be. I want a car that's made out of the plastic that comes out of this city, and in China, from this manufacturer in this region. It's too specific, right? General, the normal ones that you usually have, etc. Okay, that's what he's talking about. Like, it wouldn't make sense to go to someone, I want a tree that is in that town, in that specific garden, in that corner of the garden. That's too specific, and it's going to cause. And aslan, how are you going to confirm it? So that would be too much. Tamam. So those are the conditions. Number 1, it is something that can be described with precision. It must contain specific details. We mentioned the category, anything that will increase the price, and if it's new or used or old. Number 3, it's appropriate. The amount must be mentioned. How many, the weight. There must be a mention of appointed time of delivery. When are you going to deliver the item? The item should be a type that can be found most of the time, and it has to be able to be delivered. The seller must take possession of the money before separation, and the seller delivers the items in the future. في الذمة. طيب, then he says, we're almost done, Salam. He says, ويجب الوفاء موضع العقد إن لم يشرط في غيره. It's an interesting condition here. They mentioned that that the item should be delivered in the same place that you made an agreement. In the olden days, مثلا, you went to the market and you paid someone and you said, I want this kind of thing, you described it to them, right? You come back the same, whatever, in 2 weeks, whenever you agreed, and you get it from the same spot, right? Nowadays, it's, if you order it online, it's not like it's gonna come, it's gonna come to your house, right? So we live in a different world. So he says here, وَيَجِبُ الْوَفَاءُ مَوْضِعَ الْعَقْدِ. not necessarily. And then he says, unless you you put in the condition, and usually in most of these contemporary sales, they will put conditions that it can be either in the store or delivered or whatever. Okay, it's usually mentioned. And then he says, وَلَا يَصِحُّ. Yeah, so it is obligatory for the seller to fulfill the contract by delivering the items to the delivery address agreed upon in the contract, exception if there was a condition made that another location may also be used for delivery. And that's very common these days when you pre-order something. If no delivery address is mentioned, then it will be delivered to the place where the contract took place. That makes sense. That's the default. He says, وَلَا يَصِحُّ بَيْعُ مُسْلَمٍ فِيهِ قَبْلَ قَبْضِهِ وَلَا يَصِحُّ بَيْعُ مُسْلَمٍ فِيهِ قَبْلَ قَبْضِهِ. He's saying that, so there's a few things he said they're not allowed. So the first one is, you're not allowed to sell, something before you actually acquire it. What's he talking about here? Fadl.
Let's say he bought the car, he paid for it,
He paid for the car.
but he doesn't have the car.
The car hasn't come yet. It's supposed to come in 2 weeks. طيب. What's he not allowed to do?
He cannot sell it before that.
Ahsant. Yeah. So I paid money to get the car in 6 months. I can't go on Kijiji and put the car on sale or whatever, Facebook Market. Okay? Because you're paying for something that you don't have qabd of it. And remember before we talked about selling something that you don't have possession of it yet. You have to wait until you have possession of that item now.
How would selling even work if you don't have it in possession? If you had it in possession, you'd just sell it right away.
No, he's telling you here, you, O person who paid for the money and waiting for your commodity to come, you cannot go look for a buyer for your thing and sell it before you even receive it.
What about the seller in this case?
The seller has nothing to do with it. No, the seller is fine. The guy who's making you the car, there's no problem with him. But you as the buyer, you can't go sell your car before you receive it.
So it's two chains.
Yeah, we're talking about two contracts. You can't sell something before you receive it. That's what he's saying. Until you're waiting for your car. It's supposed to come in October. It's supposed to come in November, okay? Makes sense? I paid 50,000. It's supposed to come in November. And so your friend's like, hey man, I am looking for a car. You're like, hey, I have a car. And then he's like, I really want this one. And he's like, I'll pay 60. And you sell it to him and you don't even have it yet. That would not be allowed. Once you have it, you can talk about it. I have a car, but let's not confirm the contract until I get it. Once you get it, then you can actually take the money and sell. Tamam? Does that make sense? واضح everyone? So there's a hadith about where the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam says, selling that which you don't own. Yani I can't go to my friend and be like, here I'm going to sell you Adib's car. I don't own it. It's not mine, right? You can't do that. Drop shipping is interesting because there's a lot of khilaf on it. Drop shipping, they'll tell you that you don't have possession of it, but you have permission from the seller. If you have permission from the seller, so they said it's almost like you have possession. Yani it's there, it's just not in your store. And they'll do qiyas and they'll say it's almost just like it's in your warehouse. Yani if you're an Amazon seller, مثلا, right? Where's your commodity? Where is it? It's in the warehouse, the Amazon warehouse, right? If you're selling on Amazon.ca, your merchandise is where? Is in the warehouse somewhere in Canada. Yeah, so that's different. That's like fulfillment by yourself, where you fulfill it by yourself, right? But if you're doing fulfillment by Amazon, like they do everything, which most people do, you don't really have it with you. So here they say, well, it's just someone who's holding it, for you, and you have an agreement with him. So you're not. That's where the gray area is. Are you selling something that is not yours? Can he be considered like a wakil for you? He gave you permission because, am I allowed to sell Adib's car if he gave me permission to be an agent, to be a wakil for him?
It's the same thing as being a cashier of a store.
Yeah, so I've been, exactly. I'm a wakil, so those who said it's okay to do it, they're saying the same thing. Okay, and they agreed on a shared profit. Okay, I will sell this book on my Shopify store or whatever. Okay, I will sell this book on my Shopify store. Okay, I'll get the money. I don't have the book. It's with Abdullah, right? With Abdullah. Abdullah has all the books. And I already told Abdullah, whenever I get an order, I'm gonna ask you to send me one, and the price is agreed on. So that's where they say it's okay. And I think, Wallahu alam, yani, it looks like it's an acceptable transaction. You said, what's the difference between that? Between that and what? Yeah, this is something that doesn't even exist yet. You know what I mean? So here, the drop shipping, the book is there. Because remember we said it's not salam if it's already there. It's not salam if it's already there. It's already in the store. You just have to deliver it. That's not really salam. Okay, so when you're buying something from Amazon, it's already in the warehouse. It's not salam. You're just buying something that is not there and it's going to be delivered to you. Okay, but when you're trying to sell something that hasn't even been manufactured, okay, it's double the gharar now. There's the gharar, okay, the speculation of being made, and then the other speculation of you actually selling it to him. So you're actually increasing the gharar, and so that's probably one of the reasons why. So a buyer cannot resell the item to someone else before taking possession of the item that is to be delivered, because he's trying to sell something that he does not possess, which is not allowed. Then he says, so وَلَا يَصِحُ بَيْعُ مُسْلَمٍ فِيهِ. Yeah, the Muslimin فيه is the thing that is you're waiting for. قبل قبضه ولا الحوالة به. الحوالة, anybody know what حوالة is? How are we doing on time? What's حوالة? Huh? So حوالة is, we're going to cover that topic soon inshallah. But حوالة is when you transfer like debt. Okay? I always get confused with this. There's three parties. Okay? Me, you, and Sa'ad, for example. So, let's say I buy a car off you. Okay? I buy a car off you. Okay? So, I give you the money, or let's say the car is 10,000. Okay? So, I'll tell you, I don't have the money right now. I'll give you the money next week. Okay? So, you're going to give me the car. I'll tell you, I'll give you the money next week. You come to me next week and I say, hey, listen, Sa'ad owes me $10,000. So I'm just going to do hawala. I'm going to transfer my, your debt, and he owes me aslan, so he'll pay you. That's hawala basically, right? And you're allowed to do that as long as the three parties agree, etc. Here he's saying that you shouldn't do that, okay? There should be no transfer of wealth from either party to a third party. Does that make sense? So between the two people who are doing salam, okay? So if you're the manufacturer, I'm the buyer. So you're the seller, I'm the buyer. If I give you, if I pay you 10,000, okay, for you to give me a Toyota RAV4, okay, you can't tell me, after the appointed time that we agreed upon, you can't tell me that Sa'ad owes you a RAV4, so just go to Sa'ad and he'll give it to you. Okay, that's what they're talking about, and the opposite. Okay, I can't do a salam contract, okay, and instead of giving you 10,000, be like, oh, Sa'ad's going to give you 10,000 and just give me the car next week. That's what they're saying. And wallahu alam, just a side point, other ulama, they've allowed it, like Ibn Taymiyyah, who technically he's a Hanbali, but Ibn Taymiyyah is like one of the Hanabila that became like a mujtahid in the madhab, and he became a mujtahid like in all the madhab, right? And so he would go with the Hanbali madhab unless the other ones made more sense for him. So for him, he says there's no problem with that, right? And you can see where he's coming from. It makes sense. The reason why the Hanabila said it's not allowed because of a hadith. And Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam says, and the problem with this hadith is it's da'if, right? So Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he says, "Man aslama fi shay'in fala yasrifu ila ghayrih," right? And this hadith can be understood for many different ways. It can also be understood for the next point we're going to make, that if I'm waiting for a RAV4, you can't give me a 4Runner. I mean, I would love a 4Runner instead of a RAV4, but you can't do that, right? Or you can't change the green one for a blue one, right? unless I'm okay with it. Okay, that's what they're saying. But also, يصرفه إلى غيره, here it means also, the other way they understood it is to do hawala. Ibn Taymiyyah and others, they said no, that's not what the hadith is talking about. Okay, وأصلا they said رواه أبو داود وابن ماجه وهو ضعيف. وأصلا it's a weak hadith. So you see, this is why they had some khilaf in it. But to be honest, there's no problem in it as long as they agree, as long as you meet the conditions of hawala, which we're going to talk about in the future. تفضل. What's your question?
Could you explain dain with dain? Because I feel like this example is dain with dain.
Dain with dain?
Yeah. Dain with dain is not allowed.
Dain with dain is when you're doing, I'll give you the car next week and I'll give you the money next week. This whole triangle here, trinity that we're doing, it could become that. Like in the second scenario where I told you, I want the RAV4, okay? He owes me 10,000, it's 10,000, okay? So go get it from him like next week and bring me the car in a month. This is dain with dain, right? Do you know what I mean? Because the money's delayed and the car's delayed. But if I tell you, the price is 10,000, Saad owes me 10,000, let me call him, okay? Hello, Saad, yeah, can you go give it to Adib right now? Yeah, sure. Because Saad owes me 10,000. So Saad says, I'll go and give it to Adib right now. This would not be dain with dain because he gives it to you on the spot. He'll come, give it on the spot, and I'll get the car later. You know what I mean? And that's why it makes sense, the opinion of Ibn Taymiyyah, that there's no problem as long as there's agreement between three of them and you meet the conditions of al-hawala that we're going to talk about later. Let's finish this. It says, لا حوالة ولا الحوالة به ولا عليه. يعني the way we talked, the buyer seller or the seller buyer the other way around. ولا أخذ رهن وكفيل به. Even this one, they say the buyer cannot take a pledge or a guarantee from the seller. What does that mean? يعني I give you the 10,000 for the RAV4, and then I tell you, if you don't give it to me in 1 month, I need a rahan, which is a collateral, or a guarantee, a guarantor, right? Someone to guarantee me the car. And you have to tell me, okay, no, the other Toyota, I don't know, manufacturer will bring me the car if you don't bring it to me, right? So this is what they say it's not allowed. طبعا, like I mentioned, they use this hadith, okay? فلا يصرف إلى غيره. He does not put the liability on somebody else. This is how they understood this hadith, and that's why they didn't allow it. They didn't allow you to put the burden on somebody else, like a kafil, a guarantor, or a rahan. Okay, that مثلا you tell me, I'll tell you, I'll give you the 10,000. You give me the RAV4 in 1 month, but if you don't give it to me in 1 month, okay, I need something like collateral. Okay, your house or something like that. You give me your house, مثلا, something like that. They said it's not allowed because it's included in the hadith. من أسلم في شيء فلا يصرفه إلى غيره. And Ibn Taymiyyah and others, they said this hadith is da'if, and it's fine to put that. Just like any other transaction. There's a whole chapter on rahan, and there's a whole chapter on putting a guarantee. So we'll talk about it inshallah in that time. Yeah.
Isn't there, I don't know the full detail of it, but isn't there a hadith that the Prophet ﷺ gave his army as collateral?
Collateral is allowed. That's what I'm saying. Rahan is allowed. Yes, and Nabi sallallahu he passed away sallallahu alaihi wasallam with the shield, okay, marhoon, yani, to the Jewish man, I believe it was, right? Because he borrowed something from him. No, rahan is allowed, okay? Collateral is allowed, but he's saying in this situation because of salam, because he says man aslama, who does salam, then don't let him to فلا يصرفه إلى غيره. They understood this hadith like that, but the hadith is weak and it could be understood in different ways. So that's why others said no, this condition it doesn't count. And the last thing, ولا أخذ غيره عنه. ولا أخذ غيره يعني both parties cannot change the order to something else. Yeah, you cannot be like later. I'll give you I don't know Chevy Equinox or something like that. You can't do that. That would make the contract, okay, invalid. تمام. And that's basically salam. We have loans. It's very short. Yeah, تفضل. Huh?
Could you go back one slide?
Yeah, what's up?
Regarding the buyer cannot take a pledge or guarantee from the seller. The example that was used before in regards to someone ordered parts from Alibaba, but they were unable to deliver it. But in the contract it says they are unable to deliver it within a certain time frame, they give you a.
Yeah, this is where the madhab would say no. The madhab would say no. Others, okay, they would say, no, it's fine because this hadith is da'if. Okay? So that's why they would say it would be fine. Because, I mean, would this be counted as collateral? It's not collateral. Is it collateral?
No, it's not collateral.
Would it be counted as collateral?
Collateral because it was part of the contract beforehand, saying that.
What do you guys think? Would that be counted as collateral? I order something from Alibaba. They're gonna have a delay, and so they said we'll give you this kind of compensation. Collateral al-rahin is something that you put on the line if the agreement is not met. To cover for it. What does that mean? يعني you owe me مثلا I don't know $10,000 by October. Okay, طيب. If you don't give me $10,000 by that time, you're gonna put collateral in your car. So then I will take my value from your car. That's what collateral is. Yeah, it's an asset usually. Can it be cash? It can't be cash.
I don't think cash could be.
So, the one from Alibaba, it's not a guarantee, it's not a collateral. It's just like an incentive to make you happy.
Yeah, they want to keep your business.
You are
No, I understand. But in fiqh, you have to know. You have to put it under what kind of sale is this?
So the condition is if at any time you can cancel the transaction. And they are not even giving you the pay. What they're giving you is the interest. Unless you pay for the expedition. They're going to give you option. If it's free delivery.
It's the same thing they do with flights. If your flight is delayed, مثلا, they'll give you a hotel, etc. يعني I don't see anything wrong with it. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam. The last thing we have 20 minutes till the iqama is al-qard. And you expect this to be a big chapter, but it's actually a very short chapter. It's literally like 2 pages, a few lines. So when we talk about loans, طبعا al-qard, it's interesting. We have to go through the hukum. طبعا qard is a loan, right? You give a loan to someone. Loan doesn't have to be just money, right? It could be different things. And there's a difference between عارية and a qard. Qard is a loan. What's a عارية? They say the difference between both of them, okay, because you say someone أعرني something, right? Like lend me something. What's the difference? They say when you qard is something that you take and you use and you replace it with something that is similar to it. But عارية, you're like returning the exact same thing. That's the difference. واضح? Yeah, but back in the day, maybe it used to be, I don't know, maybe someone needed a specific amount of gold as a rahan for something, and then they return it to you, the same one, exactly. It could be, you can imagine it is the same. طيب, the hukum about qard, giving a qard, what would you say the hukum is, the ruling about giving a qard? Huh? It's mubah. Can we go higher? It's mustahab, right? It's something that is recommended. من ذا الذي يقرض الله قرضا حسنا, right? So many ayat about actually giving loan, right? About helping, because it's an act of charity that you're doing. You're helping someone, right? And we have a hadith where the Prophet said that the one who gives a qard, right? He will get half of it counted as a sadaqah, right? You give someone $10,000 qard, half of that is counted as you gave sadaqah, subhanAllah, right? It's a qard hasan. It's something that you do out of your goodness, and it has a risk, right? Because the person might not give it back to you, right? So it's something that is recommended in Sharia. But what about asking for a loan? What do you think the hukum for that is? طيب, that's interesting. You would say it's makruh. But Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you said Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, okay, did that, right? وقد مات الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم ودرعه مرهون عند يهودي فدل أنه صلى الله عليه وسلم كان يقترض. So here they say no, it's something that is mubah, and this is dalil for it. This is the dalil they use, that is something that is mubah. What would be makruh or haram? What would be makruh or haram? That could be makruh. Some would say haram, but give me something else. I want to go to get a loan from you. When I get a loan from you, okay, qard, what should be my intention? To pay you back. So imagine I go to get a loan with the intention to not pay it back. This is a very serious hadith, and that would put this in the category of a major sin, right? That the person who actually goes for a qard. What about the person who asks for a qard and he doesn't need it? Huh? That would be something that is makruh, because you don't need it. Why would you take the qard, right? So this would be something that would be disliked by the Sharia. But we said that the worst would be someone who asks for a loan with the intention to not pay it back. Tamam? That would be a major sin. Tfaddal.
I was listening to a Sheikh from US. I don't remember his name. He was saying, in a business context, taking loan is not like lending in Islam is not a tool for financing business, because qard hasan is to help, and we have other forms of collaboration or cooperation for businesses.
Musharaka and other things, Murabaha,
If
Mudarabah.
this business is making money, then you have to bring the other person as a partner.
Yeah, and this is where the whole debate about what's the point of qard hasan, because the proponents of riba, etc., they'll be like, okay, what's in it for me to give you a loan for your business? I have $10,000. You want to borrow my $10,000 to go make money. What's my benefit from that? So that's what he's talking about. But aslan, the whole point of qard hasan is you are helping someone. Tamam? You're getting ajr for it, okay? And you're helping someone. طبعا most people won't do it if it's for a business, if they know it's for a business. They'll do it if someone is in need. He's got like some student loans and they don't want to pay riba on it, and that would be highly rewarded for it. And that's why, you can argue that from a Sharia point of view, from an economics, Islamic economics point of view, it would make more sense economically for them to be partners, than someone just take somebody else's money and give it back later. That person doesn't benefit. He's going to have some ill feelings maybe, right? Because there's a difference between you lending someone money to help you out of some trouble. You lost a job, whatever. Okay, you got in a car accident, you need a new car, versus you are borrowing from me to go become wealthy. Because then you see the feelings that will come in. Oh, I could have done that. How come,
So, piggyback, backing off of that, are there any causes to make it mustahab transaction, like a charitable, for me to be rewarded, if I was the one loaning out money?
Yeah, we said that is something that is mustahab to do.
No, I understand this, but what if it's for someone who just wants to buy it for something mubah or makruh?
Or you're lending it for something that is mubah. For something mubah, yes. For something makruh, it would make it makruh, I guess. Right? Like if someone wants to go, I don't know, give me something makruh.
Somebody will borrow like $20 to buy cigarettes.
Yeah. So if let's assume cigarettes are makruh, okay? You give them money to go buy something like that, yeah, right? Or someone is begging for money to go buy some cigarettes, and you give them money. So that would because if you know for sure, you shouldn't give them the money for that. تمام. ولا تعاونوا على الإثم والعدوان. Don't help each other in إثم وعدوان. Let's read. Bismillah. He says فصل في القرض وكل ما صح بيعه صح قرضه. This is a قاعدة you should memorize. Whatever is allowed to buy and sell, then it's allowed to loan it out, to give it as a qard, right? So وكل ما صح بيعه صح قرضه. He says إلا بني آدم. They make an exception here, except the son of Adam, right? You cannot loan someone. What do you mean? Do you own, anybody here own the son of Adam? Anybody own like a human being? They're talking about slavery here, right? And because this is from Sadd al-Dhara'i and other reasons. Sadd al-Dhara'i, why? Because they would say, well, if someone owned a female slave, they would lend it for what? To do the act, right? So this is from Sadd al-Dhara'i to block those kind of things, and other reasons. There's some ahadith that indicate this exception. فكل ما صح بيعه صح قرضه إلا بني آدم. And then he says here ويجب رد مثل فلوس ومكيل وموزون فإن فقد فقيمته يوم فقده وقيمته غيرها يوم قبضه. Basically what he's saying here, that when you right, when you borrow something or when you lend something, you have to bring it back the same. So مثل fulus. Fulus is like money, right? Fulus, back in the day, the actual coin, fulus. وَمَكِيل وَمَوْزُون. So you got something that is this kind of volume, you give it back the same volume. Okay? Tamam? You borrowed, I don't know, a kilo of dates, you return a kilo of dates. Okay? You borrowed Canadian dollars, you return Canadian dollars. That's what they're talking about here. فَإِنْ فُقِدَ فَقِيمَتُهُ يَوْمَ فَقْدِهِ. What if it's something that is lost, okay? And you don't actually have the same item, okay? Then you would return it, فَقِيمَتُهُ يَوْمَ فَقْدِهِ. You return it with its price on that day, or the day it was lost, okay? وَقِيمَةُ غَيْرِهَا يَوْمَ قَبْضِهِ. If it's something that cannot be, that doesn't have something similar to it, right? Because in the madhab or in fiqh in general, you have something that is mithli, fungible. What's fungible mean? It's similar. Okay, like fungible means like one of the conditions for money to be a currency, it has to be fungible. What does that mean? Your $10 is the same as his $10. Is there a difference between them? Is there a difference between them? No. If we exchange them, did it lose value? Didn't lose value. So that's what it means. So if there's a mithli for it, you just have to bring a mithli. What does that mean? I borrowed from you a Greenworks trimmer, a lawnmower, okay? Tamam. It broke. Is there a mithli for it? There is. I can go and actually get the mithli for it, and I can even make sure that it's used for 1 year or whatever, and the blade is the same sharpness, and I give you that type. They say, what if there's something that is it's not replaceable? It was some gift from your grandma or something, and it was unique or handmade, or okay. Then he says, وَقِيمَتُهُ غَيْرَهَا يَوْمَ قَبْضِهِ. Okay, so you give the price, the estimated price of that thing on the day that you got it, that you borrowed it. Does that make sense? On the day that you borrowed. This is something that doesn't have a mithli, doesn't have something equal to it or similar to it. Now.
So for the money, let's say I borrowed 10,000 today, and I return it in 10 years from now. Do I return 10,000 or do I account?
Yeah, this is the question that we had last time, okay? Because of inflation and other things. Is that what you're asking about? Yeah, this is a very tough question, right? Because one of the two sides is going to be what? It's going to be losing. One of the two sides is going to be wronged. Because if you borrow 10,000 Canadian dollars, right? If you ever looked at the chart of inflation, it's ajib. In the last, what was it? Somebody was telling me, I think if you had $100 in 1986 or something, it's worth $16 today. Okay, I don't know if someone would be alive to return a loan that long, but look at the inflation. The value is gone, pretty much. And of course, with wars and stuff, currencies collapse, right? And so the question is, I borrowed 10,000 Canadian dollars. Okay, let's say I borrowed 10,000 Lebanese liras or something. Okay, is it lira? The Lebanese? Is it lira? Lebanese? Yeah. And whatever, 20 years ago. And do I return 10,000 now when it's worth literally not even a tenth of it? Tamam. That's the question. It's a problematic thing. Some of the fuqaha, they said, yeah, that's how you do it. Some of them said you have to compare it of the price of that. And I think that's the fairest. Wallahu a'lam. If you think about it, that's the fairest. But do we do that with everything? We don't do that with everything. And if you borrow $10,000 today, do you return it next year 10,000 something? No, because that would be what? That would be what? Technically, it's riba, right? This is the problem. Do you see the problem? That's why this question is very difficult. Some of them said, well, you give something equivalent in another currency that is in the middle. Allah alam, this is a tough one. I'm personally in the middle. I don't have, maybe ask Sheikh Hassan, he will give you a clearer answer. I don't have... if you put it in the condition, yeah. Yeah, that would make sense if you put the condition. But if you don't put a condition, what do you do? And all those people that have mahr, right, dowry, and they usually pay it after 40 years, okay, because the wife will not forgive it. What's going to happen with that, right? All these problems. There's another. I will do extra research on this one, inshallah, because It's an important one. طيب, let's quickly finish. So we says the definition دفع مال إرفاقا لمن ينتفع به ويرد بدله. Yeah, giving money as a kindness to someone who benefits from it and returns its equivalent. That's basically the definition of a qard. And we said that the two types of loans, we said something that is returned with something similar or something that it has to be exactly the same thing that is returned. We talked about that. So anything that is valid to sell, it is also valid to be loaned. This is what we said, the qaida. Whatever is valid to be sold, it's valid to be loaned. Okay. And then it says here, meaning in general, anything that can be sold can also be loaned, except human beings. إلا بني آدم. This is a reference to slaves. Okay. طبعا we don't have to worry about that. طيب. Whatever is borrowed, it is obligatory to return either the item itself, we talked about it, okay? So يجب رد مثل فلوس, okay? Something similar to the item, something that is مثلي, okay? Or its value, okay? So example one, someone borrows a pound of meat. He can either buy another pound of meat to return or pay the lender its price. You can either return the sirloin that you borrowed, okay? Or its price, yeah, something that has, and you can do the qima of it. Example two, someone borrows someone's car, he must return the car itself after use. Okay, that makes sense. If the market runs out of similar type items, then he must return the value of it on the day the market ran out. This is what we talked about. وَقِيمَةُ غَيْرِ يَوْمَ قَبْضِهِ, right? طيب, let's finish the chapter. Then he says here, it is prohibited وَيَحْرُمُ كُلُّ شَرْطٍ يجر نفعا. This is a very important qaida. I know we have 5 minutes. This is one of the most important. And that's why, by the way, we remember when we talked about riba, we didn't cover riba al-duyun. Yeah? Because riba al-duyun is right here. So he says, وَيَحْرُمُ كُلَّ شَرْطٍ يجر نفعا. Right? This is coming from a hadith that any qard, okay, that has a benefit in it, you put a condition for a benefit, then it's haram. Why? Because it's riba, right? So if I tell you, lend me $10,000, okay, and you return it for me, $10,000 and a kilo of kilo gold or something like that, that's riba because you're doing a manfa'a. And he said anything that has a naf'a, user fruct, any benefit, could be many things, okay, that would be impermissible. He says, وَإِن وَفَّاهُ أجود أو أهدى إليه هدية بعد وفاء بلا شرط فلا بأس. This is important to know too. What if I borrowed from you a lawnmower, okay, and it broke, and I went to buy a newer one? طيب, I'm going to give you something better. This is riba, right? What do you guys think? Ahsantum. This was not pre-agreed. It's not pre-agreed. I'm doing it out of my ihsan. And we have a hadith of Prophet ﷺ, this happened. He actually borrowed for someone something. And then when the money came for Bayt al-Mal, okay, he didn't have something of the same quality as that sheep. So there was only ones that were better. So the Prophet ﷺ said, give him the one that is better, okay? And he said that this is the best. This is the best of returning. Yani. The best way to return is to return something that is better, but as long as it's what? Not pre-agreed. Tamam? And that's why he says here, وَفَاءٍ بَعْدَ وَفَاءٍ. And if you do it as a gift, مثلا, you lend me 10,000 in a very difficult time for me. And Allah opened the doors for me, I got my 10,000 and more back, alhamdulillah. And I give you the 10,000 and I say here, Adib, here's an extra 1,000, spend it on your family. Is this riba? No, because I gave it to him as a gift after fulfilling. Okay? You're like, yeah, no problem. As long as it's not pre-agreed, that's fine. Does that make sense? Very easy, the chapter of qurud. Alhamdulillah, we're able to finish that. Next week we'll cover rahan. We'll cover rahan, which is collateral, inshallah. I think it's just rahan. And then we have daman, guarantee, and kafala. طيب. Wallahu ta'ala alam. Barakallahu fikum. Those questions you guys asked, inshallah, I will look at them and we'll have the answers next week. Let's have the adhan. Wallahu a'lam. Assalamu alaikum.